What if I told you that pretending to be dumb could be the smartest move of your life? Sounds crazy, right? But many of history's greatest minds chose to appear harmless, not out of weakness, but as a strategy. Playing dumb in certain situations is more powerful than flaunting intelligence. Imagine a world where being too smart is a problem, where knowledge doesn't earn you respect, but suspicion. Instead of admiration, you become a threat. Not because you're dangerous, but because you could be. That's the paradox we'll explore in this video. Is showing all you know really the best path, or is true genius knowing when to stay silent, when to blend in, when to seem irrelevant? Philosophers have wrestled with this for centuries. Schopenhauer said trying to convince fools is a waste of time. He believed the world doesn't reward the wisest, but the shrewdest. True masters learn to keep their cards hidden. In this video, we're diving deep into this game of shadows, and somewhere along the way, we'll answer a critical question. Why are the most dangerous people often the most underestimated? But be warned, what you're about to learn might change the way you see the world, and maybe how you play the game of life. When someone seems weak or not too bright, our brain automatically lowers its guard. That's because of a well-known cognitive bias, the Dunning-Kruger effect. It shows that the less competent often overestimate themselves, while the truly smart tend to underestimate their own abilities. That distortion can be a weapon. If you appear naive, people don't prepare to defend themselves against you, and in that silence, you observe, learn, and grow stronger. Naivety, whether real or staged, makes a great disguise. Psychology shows we make snap judgments based on surface cues. A soft voice, a hesitant tone, modest behavior, these can all trigger the thought, he's no threat. But that's where the trap is. The underestimated move freely. They can gather intel, slip through power gaps, and grow without interference. While the flashy ones dance, the quiet ones take notes. Being underestimated isn't a burden, it's an edge, and the more subtle it is, the more powerful it becomes. Because when no one expects anything from you, even the smallest move can shock them. And in that shock, you flip the board. We live in a world that promises nothing. Nihilistic philosophy reminds us of that. There are no guarantees, no cosmic justice. Intelligence isn't some virtue that earns rewards. It's just another tool, and like any tool, it needs to be used with strategy. Nietzsche once said, "He who fights with monsters must take care that he himself does not become a monster." To stare into the chaos of life is to realize something harsh. Those who win aren't always the best. They're often just the smartest players. Camus talked about the absurdity of existence. If life has no inherent meaning, then we're free to build our own path. And one of the most effective paths? Pretending to have nothing until it's too late to stop you. The world doesn't reward the loudest. It quietly watches the ones who wait. In that absence of meaning, cunning becomes a kind of virtue, and dissimulation becomes a practical form of wisdom. Pure intelligence looks great in books, but in the real world, survival demands masks. Life isn't a classroom, it's a minefield, and the ones yelling they know where the traps are often the first to be blown away. So maybe real wisdom isn't about showing what you know. Maybe it's about hiding just enough to stay in the game. History is full of people who won simply because they were ignored. One of the most striking examples is Roman Emperor Claudius. He stuttered, had nervous tics, and was seen as a fool by his own family. No one took him seriously. And that's exactly what kept him alive. While others were assassinated in palace plots, Claudius was overlooked. Then suddenly, he became emperor and shocked everyone by ruling with precision and skill. Joseph Stalin played a similar game. Early on, he was dismissed as a dull bureaucrat. But while his rivals fought for attention, Stalin quietly built alliances. By the time they noticed his rise, it was too late. He had already taken control. In literature, Edmond Dantes in The Count of Monte Cristo fakes innocence, disappears, and returns as a master strategist. His weakness was a trap. His revenge, flawless. Even in Brazilian literature we find it. In Dom Casmurro, Bentinho appears passive and emotional, but slowly he twists the story, casting doubt, controlling perception. The quiet ones, it seems, are often pulling the strings. What all these figures have in common is that they were underestimated, and they used that invisibility to watch, plan, and strike. Because real power isn't always center stage. Sometimes it's hidden in the shadows, waiting. The human brain loves shortcuts. Instead of analyzing everything, we rely on heuristics, mental shortcuts that help us judge fast. Daniel Kahneman wrote about this in Thinking Fast and Slow. We size people up in seconds based on tone, posture, and expression. These quick judgments help us survive, but they're easy to exploit. If someone appears awkward or unsure, we instinctively think they're harmless. But those who master those signals can manipulate perception with surprising ease. Robert Cialdini, in Influence, calls this the principle of consistency. Once we label someone as weak or irrelevant, it's hard to change that view, even when new evidence appears. That mental rigidity can be a gold mine for a strategic mind. We've seen this in business. Netflix was once dismissed by Blockbuster as a joke. That underestimation gave it space to grow until it swallowed the industry. The loudest companies aren't always the most dangerous. People do it too. A quiet employee who seems average might avoid competition and conflict. While everyone else fights for attention, they build relationships, gather information, and prepare. Manipulating how others see you isn't just an art, it's a science. If you understand how people judge, you can control the story. And often, the one who controls the narrative controls everything. Patience is one of the most underrated forms of intelligence. In the 1970s, Walter Mischel's famous marshmallow test showed that children who could wait for a bigger reward later tended to have more success as adults. In the art of dissimulation, patience is everything. Pretending to be less capable requires serious self-control. The natural urge is to prove yourself, to be seen. But a master knows real power comes from waiting for the right moment to strike. Think of Vito Corleone in The Godfather. He never rushes, he listens, he watches, and he acts only when it matters. His silence is his strength. Sherlock Holmes, too, often pretends to be distracted. While others speak, he gathers the truth. In real life, this works the same way. The professionals who don't rush, who don't chase constant recognition, often rise with more stability. While others burn out, the patient ones prepare. Waiting isn't weakness. It's a strategy. Used wisely, patience becomes precision. And when the time finally comes to act, the impact is absolute. Pretending to be less intelligent can be a brilliant strategy, but if you overdo it, it becomes a trap. People may start to believe that you really are what you're pretending to be, and that's where real opportunities begin to slip away. In the workplace, someone who always stays neutral or low profile might get overlooked for promotions, projects, and key decisions. There's a thin line between humility and invisibility, and it's easy to cross. Machiavelli warned that a good strategist must control their image with care. Dissimulation should always be reversible. You must be able to shift perception when it's time to reveal your true self. If you lose that control, you stop being a player and become just another piece, and pieces can be replaced. That's why playing dumb, ironically, requires more intelligence than it seems, because one wrong move can cost everything. Every well-executed deception needs a silent climax, the calculated reveal. If you show your full potential too fast, you might trigger resistance. But if you reveal it slowly, almost naturally, surprise turns into admiration. Napoleon mastered this. Even with absolute power, he acted like a servant of the people. He never forced his dominance, he made it feel inevitable. Elon Musk, early in his career, was seen as just another eccentric tech guy. But over time, his true influence emerged, quietly, steadily. By the time people noticed, he had already changed everything. A proper reveal should feel like a result, not a performance. The right moment is when others begin to suspect you're more than you seemed, but they're not sure yet. That's when genius is at its most powerful, right before it becomes undeniable. In a world where everyone's shouting to be heard, the true master is the one who knows when to stay silent. Pretending to be less than you are isn't weakness, it's strategy. In times of inflated egos and shallow noise, silence becomes a rare form of power. Sun Tzu said, "All warfare is based on deception." Life, in many ways, is a constant battle of perception, and those who control how they're seen often control the outcome. But make no mistake, this isn't a game for just anyone. It takes patience, self-awareness, and a deep understanding of human nature. So if you've made it this far, congratulations. You're already part of the few who see through the illusion. Now it's time to go further. Become a member of this channel. Join the silent elite who value strategy over noise. Members get access to exclusive insights, deeper discussions, and a private space for minds that think differently. This isn't about being flashy, it's about being effective. So if you truly value wisdom and want to keep mastering the game, click join. While most keep yelling in the dark, we'll keep learning how to win in silence.